Hey guys, welcome back to the GEICO Summer Brawl number 2. We have the man, I always forget the Clash of the Keywords. Here we go. We are in our first semifinal. We are going to have Zele battle it off against Eloise. We just saw Zele take down Show in a very impressive, like 8-minute match, best of 5. And then Eloise ended up going over the top on Stancifka. So both these players are pretty dominant in their opening bracket, 3-0s. But it did seem like Zele had just a little bit more dominance squeezed into his decks. You're still favoring Zele? Did you maybe reconsider after the break, get some time to think about things?
I am. During the break, I kind of realized why Zlay was so dominant. It's because he has basically all board control decks, and that's going to be really important here. I think the
Hmm.
Paladin is actually better than the Warlock in this one because it's really strong against aggressive decks, and it's like when you think about constructed, really, the Paladin mostly is great against those decks that care about the board. In this format where there's no mean patron warriors or freeze mages or oil rogues out there, you can just use the Paladin to board control everything. The Elder Peacekeeper is insane in this format, always hits a
Yeah.
minion, always great value. Um, yeah, Paladin is really strong.
All right. Well, we'll see how big of an impact it makes. Of course, it is Conquest, so if the Paladin knocks out a deck, each of the decks still has to win. It really might come down to how refined some of these mirrors are. We'll have to see. So far, we've seen a lot of Hunter, a lot of experimental stuff. Oh, look at that, more Hunter. All right. So that is a Hunter versus Hunter opening match yet again. Both players, of course, playing the Death Rattle variety. I don't think we've seen Hunter's Marks and I think Belcher's. Oh no, I believe Stensico also had Belcher's. But it feels like Eloise has a more controlling Hunter deck than the others that we've seen. And maybe that is to her
Wow.
credit.
Perfect hand from Zalay. One, well, 2-1-1-3-4, basically 2-2-3-4 in some fashion.
Yeah, indeed, very strong. There are some counter plays here, but not too much from Eloise. Like a Glaive Zuka is almost good enough. I guess a Glaive Zuka is good enough. It just tackles the board. You push for 2 damage and you take 3 damage. Hmm. We're experiencing like a bug on Eloise's POV. We will get to see her cards pretty soon. I'd imagine if she had the Glaive Zuka counter, it would have been already played though.
Might be a tough choice between Glaivezuka and Mad Scientist. I don't think Glaivezuka is that hard to counter either because you kill the Haunted Creeper and then you have a 2-1 against the 1-1. That's not great. Based off that pause, though, you can pretty much guess that Eloise does have another 2-drop in her hand.
Right. All right, well, here come the web spinners, and that's going to make the animal companion pretty good in almost every single case. Oh, unleash
Oh,
time.
the doggies.
All right, what web spinners will we get here? Silence is pretty good, and the raptor is pretty good. It's kind of interesting if you think about like the active rule set for cards with choose abilities. If you play them in taunt decks, you have to choose the taunt. But now we can play battle cry minions in the death rattle deck. The world is
That's
falling
right.
apart.
You'll never
Yeah,
see that Ala coming.
yeah. Well, there are I think 36 beasts right now, if I'm not mistaken. So with 2 web spinners, 2 tries at a 3%, uh, yeah, it still feels like you probably shouldn't be bothered to play around to silence this game.
Okay, looks like we'll have the Eloise hand cam up after this game, but for this one, we'll just have to be looking from Azalay's point of view. Eloise's web spinner grab not as good.
No. And with a Death Rattle deck, I don't imagine there are many things she can do to improve the stats of an Angry Chicken.
one deck that I didn't even think about, the Enraged deck. That could possibly work.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe as warrior because you can make up for the lack of cards with the ample weapons.
Yeah, remember Crip? Enraged deck actually was played in BlizzCon 2013.
Yeah, but it had a lot of cards that made it work, like the Warsong Commander and Cruel Task and stuff like that, that wouldn't be legal. All right. Well, Zele does not have a Unleash of his own, and that trap looks pretty menacing.
Yep. It's usually going to be freezing, given Eloise's more mid-range slash control heavy deck.
Hmm.
And you don't
Hmm.
want to lose your Shredder to the freezing trap. That'll cost too much. And yet, none of your other stuff is going to stick. So, Eloise has a pretty firm control on the board right now.
Well, Zele probably have to do a defensive kill command then to not fall too far behind. All right. Yeah, it feels like it's kind of a reverse from Constructed. In Constructed, all of these decks are really helped by the fact that you have the Death Rattle thing while you tune your deck in a more aggressive or more control way. But it feels like in this rule set, the more controlling hunter kind of wins because they're all about equally fast.
Yeah, and you actually get to the point where you can't do damage quickly enough before the other player runs out of cards. Or basically, the games last long enough that even though it might take you a bit longer to play your cards, like in the case of Zelay here, perhaps you actually have enough time to play them all.
Hmm. All right. Well, Eloise is taking a more aggressive route. She's basically forced into it based on the cards that she drew and the outcomes of the web spinner. But Zele really doesn't have much of a counter to this. It feels like it might just be a turn where you slam dunk Sylvanas and hope for the best.
That's pretty tough because then that means in order to have Sylvanas attack, then you'd have to trigger the possible freezing trap with the Shredder.
Yep.
Zlay's getting a headache here. There's nothing he can play in order to trigger the freezing trap elegantly. He's just really hoping for the Unleash the Hounds draw, I guess.
Hmm. All right. Well, I actually like this play more than attacking the Shredder because if Eloise wants to play defensively again, she's actually forced into killing the Shredder. And if Zalay gets a good outcome out of his Shredder, then she'll have to use up her bow to do so. So otherwise, I mean, he's still trying to bank on an Unleash draw anyway. So yeah, seems pretty good. We'll just
Yeah, I
have to
have to
see.
imagine this one's a face from Alois.
Um, do you think it'll have to be? Yeah, you're probably right. But if Zele has Unleash, she'll lose for sure. Okay, well, I think she just realized that, and it's like, okay, well, if you have Unleash, I lose anyway. If not, I'll just run over you.
Yep. Will he get it? No. That card sucks. It's too slow.
It is a bit slow right now, that is true. Um, hmm.
Eloise with 15 damage represented on the board off of her weapon and the hero power.
All right. Uh, it feels like you might actually have to freeze off Sylvanas to come back in this game. To try to get like a taunt or something relevant from your own Shredder.
That's a far stretch, but you're right in the sense that Zilly might have needed to get that lucky, but Zilly is going to take a more. All right, I'm hopeful that this Sylvanas 3-for-1 will be enough. 4-for-1 actually.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, no Doomsayer coming out of that creature, and it is going to be another round of face damage from Eloise, I would imagine.
You could have a Sylvanas 5 for 1 if you stole a mad scientist and got a trap.
Oh, that is a sick draw. Holy cow. What does she need to seal out the game now? She just needs 2 damage. 2 damage is pretty easy to come up
1
with.
damage even. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. Which is probably good enough to just hit face with.
Hmm.
Might want to kill off the Sylvanas just to reduce the chances that you randomly lose.
I think
Actually,
that the Leok is the randomly lose part because if your opponent runs into Unleash.
that's true, but you want to set the opponent down to 2, so you can only really afford 1 attack.
Hmm.
And then she'll do the calculations. That's going to be 2, 7, and then with Unleash it would be plus 8, 15. So even in the worst case, it looks like she would only take 22, which is just enough to stay out of it. And she does take that. Actually, she would take 23 because of that. 24.
Okay. Yeah, and there's nothing to use here from Zilly. So Eloise takes it again. She's won 2 Hunter Mirrors so far. And yeah, pretty good stuff. I mean, we kind of gave credit to her deck being more controlling, but with the draw that she had in that particular game, the control aspect was not the dominant one. It was mostly the fact that she got on the board and she had a very strong freeze trap position against slow minions from her opponent.
Yeah, almost a surprise because Delay did have what I would qualify as the dream hand, even in constructed, a 1, 1, 2, 3,
Hmm.
4 opening. But still, even though those were very powerful cards, Zilly just had no way to get past the freezing trap, and that 2 mana secret, actually a free secret because the Mad Scientist, got to lock down Zilly's top end card, while all the smaller ones were taken out.
Hmm. Now, this is Conquest, so some of these decks are obviously a little bit better than the others. Players are only able to choose one of these card archetypes like Death Rattle, like Taunt, like Battle Cry. They are like one-ofs. So some of these decks, as a result, may turn out not so great. So with that in mind, what do you feel it's going to take for the Warlock to win? Because that did seem like it was the weak point of Eloise's lineup.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with it with you there. What that Warlock needs to win is to get a more stable early game draw. We saw that it was a Battle Cry deck, so she's really going to be looking for that Flame Imp on turn 1. I think that's going to be
Hmm.
critical to just have a better minion base. Flame Imp into Echoing Ooze or the other Ooze into a 3 drop. Probably it's going to be necessary to play that Acidic Swamp Ooze as a 2 drop, even against the weapon class, versus tapping, just because I don't think that deck has a way to come back from a lost position on the board. You can charge for a bit of damage at the end, but if your opponent is at like 20 plus, there's nothing you can do to charge for enough.
Well, if there's faces in that deck, you could technically do more than 20 plus.
That's true. That is actually a battle cry. Arcane
Yeah.
Golem, battle cry.
Powerbomb,
Yeah,
Faceless. The old 24 depressive turn to the face, right? Oh man.
that's a thing.
That is a thing. That has been a thing for quite some time. I actually really love that deck. I really love that combo. Not on the receiving end, but playing it. I think it's a lot of fun. So I do kind of hope that is there. But I was mostly curious, like in terms of the matchups. Like it feels like that Warlock deck might really struggle against some of the more controlling decks. And it feels like all of Zealot's decks are pretty controlling. Maybe the Hunter being the least so, in fact.
Yeah, there's something that's actually a pretty big problem with Eloise's deck. It's that she's running the Battle Cry Zoo, which is more of the old school Zoo. But we saw this come up in her games. Uh, she absolutely needed to like have a minion on the board to buff with like the Dark Iron Dwarfs, the Fender of
Hmm.
Arguses, the Power Overwhelmings, the Abusive Sergeants, and sometimes you just don't have that minion on the board. So that's why I think Paladin's a pretty good deck. It can keep everything off the board constantly. Zlay's Hunter should do that. The Druid probably would be Eloise's best matchup to go against because Druid has a chance of not being able to clear everything.
Yeah, you're right about that. Also, the druid might just opt to go for a face type of game plan if it has the big taunts, and you can get punished by power whelms and just crazy high buffs as a result of that line of play. While the other decks might just have a um, more aggressive type of play for the board, as you mentioned. So I think you're right about that. I kind of thought the Hunter might have been the best matchup for her Warlock deck, but I think you're right. I think it probably would be the Druid. We're going to get to the game here shortly. We just wanted to fix up those bugs for you guys, so we will have both perspectives of the game active, so we can see all the little details of each of the decisions being made in the game.
Cool. And here we go.
All right. I'm kind of hoping that Eloise just puts out her Warlock last. All right, good. That's what we're gonna see then. It's gonna be
Yep.
Paladin versus Druid. Um, I don't think we've seen equality yet from Zele's Paladin, but thanks to the nature of Show's Face Hunter deck, we've only really seen like 8 cards from it. So it
Yeah.
it very well might be in there, and that is a pretty devastating blow to any big minion taunt deck.
Yeah, I mean, with this Battlecry Paladin, it is one of the decks that looks most similar to its constructed counterpart of just mid-range Paladin. A lot of good cards. The Bomb Lobber is an interesting one, and particularly good in this format because there's always going to be minions, unlike in non-restrictive constructed format where the Bomb Lobber might not hit relevant things.
Hmm. Yeah, the Bomb Lobber, the Peacekeeper, the Equality, as we can see it there. It seems like Zele is going to have most of the creatures on lock here. It seems like this is actually going to be a pretty easy matchup.
For
Paladin.
really, well, I was just about to say this Paladin hand really sucks, and if he coins out the oh, I was thinking he was about to coin out the Coghammer, but of course not. He would do this. He doesn't have a 4-drop, and that's the main sticking point, and that he didn't have a 2-drop. Paladins have been spoiled ever since that shielded mini bot, but in this deck
Hmm.
you cannot run shielded mini bot.
I really think that you just have a lot of time against this Druid, and with Equality, you're just going to win out because of it.
Yep, this is a very efficient way to remove both minions for essentially free.
Now, some people would perhaps attack first and then Divine Shield up their then 3/1 creature. What do you think about that line of play? It would kind of lose the Wrath with the draw mechanic, so it seems a little better to do this.
Yeah, I agree. I think it depends based on the circumstance. If it were left at a 3-2 with Divine Shield, that would probably be better. Usually, the cutoff point for whether or not a Divine Shield is better is around 2, and then that's like the point where you have to see.
Hmm. All right, well, no play here, but the dude plus Bomb Lobber plus Weapon Attack is enough to do 6 damage, or 7 damage actually. So it's not really that weak of a position still. You can't afford to skip this turn.
Right. That turn definitely helped Eloise out, but uh, that Bomb Lobber, it's a nice fast card.
Hmm. Yeah, seeing if like maybe Lothar might be a little bit better, but not really. Now that you have Equality and Consecrate together, you don't really want to set up any boards for just Consecrate, as you otherwise may want to. You kind of just want to clean up the board, and whenever you're in a position where you're totally lost, then you Equality Consecrate together.
Yeah, this is trouble for Eloise. Her hand is clearly, very quickly running out of stuff. After that Sunwalker play, she's gonna have the Force of Natures, which aren't very efficient based off the mana cost when you don't combine them with anything. She's gonna have the Starfall, which doesn't look like it'll do much other than perhaps deal 5 damage to Lotheb, and you can't do it the turn that comes out. And she's gonna have Nourish, which is a really slow card.
Yeah, it's true. If Zele ends up going with a Lotheb play, she's going to be in a lot of trouble. And looking at his hand, a Lotheb play seems inevitable. It's going to be Sunwalker, dies to the board, and to Lotheb.
Ooh, and that's really good. Looks like a good 5, 6, 7 play. Lotheb into Guardian of Kings into the good old Muster Quartermaster.
You can do a super greed muster setup. You can do 4 dudes this turn and then dude quartermaster next turn.
That's true, you can. But you're just so close to 8 already, and you
Yeah,
win the game if the Muster or Quartermaster go off, that it's probably not worth the risk here.
right. And if she draws a spell, she's in big trouble. Oh, that might as
Oh,
well be a spell.
Luis is running that Ironbark Protector Light.
Yep. The turn 7 hero power with 5 cards in hand is a druid. Oh god.
Ugh.
All right, well, that's not really enough to play anything still. The Force of Nature killing the Guardian of Kings removes 4 creatures, which puts the Lumber on a 5 mana cost, which is still not enough. Even if she picks up an Innervate, it's not enough. That sucks. That sucks really bad.
Yep. Just a hand that's far too clunky here.
You might even have to just Force of Nature anyway. Actually, no. I think if you had poison seeds, you would nourish to draw. So you could have the poison seeds super combo into your lumber next turn. And if you have lumber, the chance you have poison seeds is not 0, right? Like you
Yeah,
would
that's
consider
true.
putting it in. Okay.
She's gonna slow the bleeding. Is like gonna put up a lot of pressure this next turn though.
Yeah. She is able to deal with it if she picks up a swipe, but she's already used 1 swipe, so the likelihood of that is quite low.
Yeah, the other way would be to get some kind of spell damage, but in a taunt deck, there's nothing with taunt and spell damage to my knowledge.
No, I don't believe so. All right. Um, yeah, it's basically poison seeds or swipe or bust here, I believe. With the Black Knight and Zelia's hand, just one taunt minion is not really good enough.
That's gonna be value. Zalay is about to kill off a 9 mana taunt minion, I believe, with Black Knight.
No, I think here you actually consider playing Nourish or the Force of Nature. You can do Force of Nature Starfall if you want. You can also Nourish and hope to draw Swipe and the other Innervate. Right? Would that work? No, that wouldn't even work. You need 1 more mana for that. Wow.
Let's use
No,
that thing
that
as a 7/8, so that would take out only a Lotheb and a guy. So you're right, that's not even that good a play. Man, it's really nothing here. Too slow.
yeah. Wow. That has to be game. There's just no way you're coming back. Oh my God. Is that lethal?
No, not enough mana, but
Wait,
obviously a
what is the
position which can't.
equality? Equality and trade with the quartermaster, and then
Oh, yeah.
it's
I think that might have been a miss lethal then. Yeah, that was.
was it? That was 20 damage.
Yeah, it was definitely missed lethal, but it didn't matter.
Okay. Yeah, it really didn't matter. It's a druid we're talking about. It takes several turns to keep up with a board like that, and
Yeah, but the poison
it's a
seeds
good
would
thing.
have done the punish. That would have been kind of tragic for Zlay.
Would have been pretty cool. Actually, like Mildred with Poison Seeds and Lumber is a deck that has seen some tournament success, mostly early on in Blackrock Mountain. But yeah, the exclusion of that makes it so you can get uh, brutally tempoed out of the game, as we saw there. All right, so each player with a point here. We're going into game 3. Um, we have Battle of the Losers here. We have the Druid versus the Hunter.
I'd say Luis has a real chance that since she got this matchup then, and since Zlay's stuck with that Nose Dormu. So this is probably the best matchup for Druid possible, just to match it against an aggressive deck.
Yeah.
The taunts naturally do really well against that. The main problem is that Zelay's deck is not all that aggressive. It just has value Death Rattle minions in the later game.
Well, it's going to be pretty aggressive in this round here. Um, it's going to be Gladezuka face face. If he gets like a nice huffer here, Eloise, Eloise will have to Senjin the turn after with a coin, and I believe a Gladezuka huffer. We'll be able to trade for that.
Yeah, it's
Huffer.
almost a little bit difficult to tell which one is worse, Huffer or Misha, because Misha is slower, but then Misha would survive. Huffer gets an immediate damage, so both of the results are going to be really good. That puts up a lot of pressure.
Did you ever doubt the huffer?
It's always Huffer.
Always huffer. And now with the quick shot draw, Huffer might even get another 5 damage attack to the face. Actually, it looks like Zele is going to just run over the Druid deck from what I'm seeing.
I don't know about that. It's possible for Zalay to stall out. The Senjin trades with the Huffer, and then Zalay doesn't currently have any other minions. Oh, and furthermore, the Innervate pickup makes it so that that thing.
Can't die.
Eh,
Yeah.
that's not really that much better than the Senjin in this case because of the Glaive-Zuka. Glaive-Zuka playing a really key role in getting past this Sunwalker.
Oh, it's like infinitely better. What? Because the Huffer dies for sure now, right?
What? It was gonna die to the. Oh, right,
No, it
right, right.
wasn't.
Yes.
It would have hit face for 5, and then it would have been very tragic because there's still a 5 attack Huffer, and then what do you do against that? Then you
Right.
actually are screwed.
The Sunwalker actually stops the bleeding, right?
Hmm. All right. Well, Eloise is in that game plan where you just play stuff and hope it doesn't get horribly punished. But she's going to be in the clear here for a few turns. And with 15 life, that's plenty of play left.
Yeah, this could work out for Eloise. You just play the Force next turn, and then you play Ancient of War into the Volcanic Lumber. And then you just hope to out big guy your opponent by the time before you get steady shotted down. I think both sides have a chance here.
Hmm. I think that's absolutely right. Zeli's probably not too happy to see another taunt, but that is your expectation in this Geico Brawl. All
This is
minions
cheating.
must contain the same keyword. I must attack the minion with taunt. Yeah. Sadder words have never been spoken to Rexar. Well, he does have a pretty clear-cut kill on one of the Senjins. I wonder what he's actually really thinking about here.
Um,
Perhaps
on
quick shot
probably
killing
whether or
one of
not you
them?
need to kill the Senjins that quickly. I think something that's worth considering a lot is whether or not to use the hero power.
Hmm.
Chooses not to here.
All right, well, this will be an extremely efficient force of nature. All right, I think maybe an innervate would have been enough here, right? One, two, three. No, because the thing doesn't die on her turn. No, not quite.
Yep, so hard to get the Volcanic Lumberer to work. That's a discount of 5, but nowhere close to having the mana to pay for that still.
Yeah. Yeah, the most minions she could have killed off was 1 extra. So the most she could have reduced it down to is 3, and an inner rate would not have been good enough.
Zelay's out of steam right now.
He is out of steam, but he's got Nasdorma, which counts for absolutely nothing right now.
Well, it's possible that this would be kind of tragic, but it's possible that Nozdormu could block enough damage so that Force of Nature Savage Roar doesn't work.
All right.
All Nozdormu is doing right now is blocking Quick Shot from drawing a card.
Well, here I think you'd have to consider just killing the beast off.
Yeah, I think that's the right call.
Well, she wants to go for it. I don't blame her for that either. I mean, she does have combo in hand. All right, I think we're hoping for an owl here. Whoa!
Okay, that one's one of the better ones.
Yeah,
Well, maybe not that great. Zalea was really looking forward to using the hero power because without using hero power, it seems like it'll be very difficult to get past that. And there are no owls in this deck because owl is a battle cry, and this is a death rattle deck.
hmm. Also have to keep in mind that Eloise is drawn to lethal with a few cards here. I think Swipe and Savage Roar are both enough. So I think the quick shot there is a very good defensive play from Zele. I think he might need a Hunter's Mark to push through this, but this at least has him survive until next turn in some situations. I like the second Ancient of War.
Yeah, that looks like it's the one that locks down the board the most, and then you just do the Force Savage next turn. Hopefully, you have enough time to play it if Zalea chooses to play Nosdormu.
Actually, the Belcher and Hero Power maybe is a bit more defensive. Because if Zele would have like two Hunter Marks, you would stop yourself from taking like any damage with the Belcher. Whereas the Ancient Award doesn't really satisfy that. Plus, you get the hero power. I mean, the truth is, you win anyway next turn. It's not like he's gonna play. Like he might play taunts. He might play a Belcher. So maybe you do want the extra damage.
It's all in on Nosdormu's timing here. Maybe you play Nosdormu and then you send in this, and then you send in the scientist really quickly, and then you end turn, and then the secret
Yeah, I think
animation
you're
takes
right.
the turn.
I think you're right. Get those animations out there. Oh wow. Well, that's not gonna do it. Zele's play is far less ambitious than yours. I I much prefer your play here. All right, freeze trap triggers. It makes absolutely no difference. She has what is that? 21 damage here, so it's far more than what's required. That's basically a BM Savage Roar. Hero power would have sufficed.
Gotta practice against that Nosdormu.
Yeah. All right. Well, Eloise does take the game, and she has her Warlock left again. It was the deck that both of us agreed is the weaker one. But you said that the Druid has the better matchup. I initially said the Hunter, then you swayed me. I'm with the Druid as well. But certainly the worst matchup is Paladin, and that is out of the way. So we have to be a bit hopeful for Eloise, given the fact that going into the match, she may not have been the favored player.
That's right. Just the kind of order that this went down. Uh, wow, Hungry Dragon in the Zoo deck as well.
Hmm.
That's kind
Weird.
of problematic as well, since this deck is so wanting to buff minions that you own, but if you give the opponent a minion, they have a greater chance of removing your minion. Wow, she keeps the Shattered Sun Cleric. That's optimistic.
Maybe there's just a lot of early game that she's just not drawing into.
When I think about all the battle cries that are possible, I can't really think of that many. I mean, the coil is really good here,
Mhm.
but keeping the Shattered Sun Cleric, I don't really believe in that, just because it seems really hard to get a 2-drop.
Maybe on the flip side, there's just so few that you have to keep that. It's possible. All right, well, there's the
Oh,
Flame Imp.
got him though. Wow, this is really good. Play both ones.
Well, the bow is going to make quick work of this, I believe. You do have the implosion to follow though, which is quite nice.
Yeah, the implosion will be a pretty big deal. Probably worth pointing it out, and then use a Shattered Sun Cleric. The implosion can also trigger the freezing trap potentially.
Well, it's probably going to be an Eaglehorn bow here, and the Eaglehorn bow is probably good enough to trigger off of the Shadowed Sun, I'd imagine. Let's see the trap here. The trap type is pretty significant, but I don't think we've seen anything besides freezing from Zele, have we? I think every single one has been freezing so far. Not to say there's no snake in the deck, but we haven't seen it come out yet.
Yep. And now Elise has to play this 3 mana card as just a 3/2. One of the weaknesses of her deck, again, inability to buff minions sometimes when you have no minions on the board, which is a completely plausible situation when you're not running Haunted Creeper and
No, on a
Voidwalker and
creeper.
the host of other cards that Zoo usually runs that's sticky.
Yeah. Voidcaller is also a really nice candidate. Um, just nobody wants to kill that card. I think you're all in on Implosion here. If this is for two, you're really sad.
Yeah. Do you attack with the Shard Sun to try to trigger the trap or wait for Implosion?
Implosion. Four wins the game here, I believe. Oh, he's crying. Zele knows how significant this is. Oh, it is
Never
two!
lucky.
Never lucky.
Still, having the 1/1 to clear the freezing trap is something at least.
Oh, but you won't have the 1/1.
Will you
Yeah.
not?
Oh, you're right. You don't really want to kill off all the 1/1s. Yeah, you're right. It's not worth it.
Yeah. 7 damage on 2/1/1s? That's extreme.
It also burns up your weapon, which you kind of want to recharge.
Yep. That's like 10 damage for 2/1/1s.
Yeah. Hmm. That's a pretty good draw.
That it is. It's going to be enough to clear off the stuff pretty efficiently. Finally, Luis has stuff on the board. Once she
Um,
does have stuff on the board, all of her cards are very efficient.
yeah, but she doesn't have much cards to follow, really. Like, she has cards she can draw that will help that, but she'd be using most of them up to clear here. Like, I believe this is a abusive.
Oh wow, this is a
Oh, whoa.
very ambitious. Shouts and Cleric and Abusive go. That's too bad.
Wow. I like that a lot, actually. I didn't think you'd be so reckless with your discards, but I mean that is the nature of the deck. That is what you intended when you put Doomguard in deck without Voidcaller.
No, I think the point of this is still just to do the usual Zoo thing, play all the cards first and then play that. Um, hmm. Yeah, I mean, playing it very quickly though. I guess perhaps she senses blood because Zilly wasn't holding too many cards. Wow, that's a good one.
That is a really good one. Is it good enough though? You'd basically have to play the Imp or tap, and I think you'd actually consider playing the Imp here. Oh, he's just going for it. Face damage. All right. Face is the place.
Face.
Oh, punished. That's like mega punish.
Ouch. That's a pretty big punish.
Yeah. That's an unleash kill command turn.
Yeah,
you
that's a
can
full
absolutely you
clear.
can just clear the board. Yeah, go for it.
Very hard for Eloise's deck to play from having no minions. And certainly against the 6/5. There's no answer to that in that deck, I think. Other than
Yeah,
Doomguard.
there's basically almost no hope here,
Oh
and
gosh.
Mukul actually gives him lethal,
There's
doesn't
so
he? Oh,
many cards in
he's
Eloise's
got lethal
deck
in
which
play.
self-punish also, with like King Mukla buffing the opponents and Hungry Dragon buffing the opponents.
Yeah, the masochistic zoo deck. Yeah, she has to tap to stay alive here, and I don't really see how that's going to work out for her at all.
I guess she'd be looking for a Defender of Argus to try to taunt up her Lotheb and potentially King Mukla.
Oh, if she has to tap to get it, it's not going to happen. All right, that's lethal, I believe. Glaive Zuka into
It's one
bow
short.
into no, you Glaive Zuka first, right?
Yeah, that would be 13 then,
Oh, is it?
since you replace the
Oh
Eagle
yeah, you're
Wings.
right.
That's
You're right.
three,
You're right.
five, six. Yeah,
It is one short. Okay.
but that's still enough. But right now, if you're in Zalea land, you're just trying to figure out if you have any way to like guarantee the win. I don't think there's a way to kill Lothab while also setting your opponent down low enough. Don't
Hmm.
want to trade off the 6/5. So you probably set your opponent down to 2.
Seems reasonable. All right. Zelly feeling very relaxed here. Oh, and there's Hungry Dragon. I can't really do it though.
Yeah, not even
Y-
Zombie Chow would work. Oh,
Yeah, not even Zombie Show.
you will not pass. Saying
Nope.
that, you will get the friend of the Gold Star Footman tournament attendee.
I think it's mostly about that injured Gvalder, the 2/4, making Hungry
Ooh.
Dragon completely unplayable. All right, well, Zele takes the game with his Hunter. Try two for the Hunter is good enough. Ties up the series 2-2. This is our set. This is our first semifinal, by the way, guys. So this is a spot for tomorrow's final match. And yeah, tied up. I think this is the best case for Eloise's Warlock deck, which has been the worst in her lineup so far from what we've seen so far. But
Oh, that's not good for her.
yeah, I think even if it's her best matchup, I think the Druid is still favored to win just overall with these hands, especially so.
I'm not sure if the Druid is overall favored. It's if Eloise were to start off with Flame Imp, I think she would be favored. But and even without, like, I think there's decent enough chance that you can pull enough stuff together. But yeah, it's not looking great with that hand. Oh, and Death Lord too. I'd forgotten about that. That's gonna pull it really strongly in Zlay's favor.
Is it though? If she gets like a Doomguard or something, like you have to keep in mind that the Druid is the class that really can't clear if there's too much annoying stuff on the board.
That's true, but at the same time, I think the Druid's game plan in this matchup is just to survive and play big taunt after taunt, and the Death
Hmm.
Lord is a key part of surviving. And there's not that many things from Eloise's deck that I remember that are actually that strong. She has Dr. Boom in there, probably, since there's Battle Cry. But probably that's the top.
Yeah. All right. Well, Zele sets up for a big turn three play with the Death Lord. Seems pretty fair. Eloise with her standard tap on turn two play and her zoo deck. You've seen that every single turn, or every single game so far.
Yeah. Without Creeper and without Knife Juggler, it's tough to fit in enough cards.
Hmm.
What other two cost battle cries can you think of other than Ooze?
Bomber.
In Zoo, though. That's yeah.
Yeah.
She does run the Echoing Ooze, just hasn't been fortunate enough to draw it, I guess.
Hmm. Other than that, though, there's Sunfury Protector, which isn't that bad.
Um
You can protect some of your more vulnerable minions and get another
oh,
attack in.
probably one card I haven't seen, which probably should have been included in this deck, would be Dark Bomb then. It's not usually seen in Zoo, but it's very important to drop.
Yeah, you're right about that. Well, the double owl proving very sad in this situation. Hmm. Yeah, I think just the other Death Lord's good enough. I think you'd want to trade though because there's just the buff nature
Oh
of
yeah,
Eloise's
that
deck.
should have been a trade for sure. Dark Iron Dwarf punishes, Power of Overwhelming punishes, but not by that much.
Well, you can silence your own minion as well.
Yeah, that's probably the play. Yeah, just Hungry Dragon. Okay,
Hmm.
pretty good result for Eloise.
Is it? I guess.
Yeah,
I
I guess a
think
1/2 would be better.
I think we're gonna see Savage Roar here. Just the Druid hero power and
I think the
the
number
route.
one thing that Zilly needs to do right now is not forget that he can't play that in charge mode.
Hmm.
Easy to forget when you're in the heat of the moment.
What are the rules if you do make that mistake? Do you drop the game?
I don't know, but I would expect
Hmm.
that to be the case.
Well, if you make a mistake, you get your deck wisped and angry chicken and alarm botted. So I would expect that. We don't have much of a tolerance for mistakes at
This
the
is
Geico
like
Brawl.
the one way that Zilly can lose right now, playing that in charge mode, which would normally be the right play, I think.
Yeah, push for damage. Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Oh my God. Oh,
Clicks the right button.
all right. Okay. There's Mukla, which doesn't do much. I kind of like the power overwhelm kill on the Druid of the Claw. I like the Mortal Coil on the 2/1. Hmm. All right. Don't you think maybe the Mortal Coil first would have been nice? Okay, obviously it would have.
Oh, yep. Uh, yeah, that would have been better.
Hmm. You would have basically dealt 2 damage for free to the Death Lord, which is quite significant considering you've run out of granular spell damage.
Right. Right now, I think she needs to still play the Dark Iron Dwarf and be like, oh, oops.
Yeah. No, I was just try to save face a little bit with the King Mukla, but this can really set up a disaster situation.
So Zlay's
Okay.
got 8,
Not
10,
quite.
12, 14. Yeah. You
Then
can
he's got
set the
swipe
opponent down
after.
to 4 and then have
Yeah.
a swipe.
Yeah, it's very hard to lose after that. I think that is the play. Just banana up, Savage Roar, good to go. Looks like this is LA's game here.
Yeah. At the same time, it's hard to think, it's hard to really see which one wins the game more often between just playing the Sunwalker on curve and just hitting Eloise for 6. That's clearly very good as well.
Hmm.
Looks like Slay's gonna go for it.
Eloise could be playing healing though. It's not impossible.
Yeah, the only yeah, could be.
I also wouldn't doubt like a one of Siphon Soul.
In Zoo, I would doubt it.
Oh, Lotheb, hello.
Oh, okay.
But that's not good enough because it just dies to the board, I believe. Oh no, you got Power Overwhelm. No, that is good enough.
Yeah, that's gonna block Soleil from winning the next turn. And if Eloise gets something really strong from Deathlord, I wonder if there's a chance.
Hmm. Doctor
Oh,
Boom.
okay.
Wow.
So that's 17. 17 plus the 5 from the Doomguard, it's 22, but it's not gonna be able to make it past the taunt.
No, and I think if you're Zelly here, I think you just drop 2 taunts.
Right, over 1. That makes sense.
Yeah, you also are able to gain that 1 extra health, which is pretty nice. Hmm.
So it probably makes the calculation too. Like even if there is silence, then Luis only has 5 mana left, and let's see, 17. She has to do 11 with 5 mana. It's pretty tough, but
Yeah, it's really, really tough.
yeah, this is the better play.
What do you think about just the hero powering down 5/1? I guess he's going for it.
Yeah, all right.
What about a panda here? Wouldn't that be sickening? That wouldn't be
That'd be
like
pretty good.
extremely unlikely because it works with Power of Will and then all the buff cards.
I don't think that would even still save her.
It might. She has like Panda replays. Yeah, you're probably right. She would need much more damage than that.
Yeah, I'd say this is definitely Eloise's weakest deck, and she gets punished for it in the Conquest format.
hmm
Um,
Yeah, there's nothing she can do here.
with all the great battle cries that are in the game, uh, I feel like this has the least synergy. Like, especially the Arcane Golem seems especially out of place, and just all these buff cards with no early game to buff.
Yeah. All right, she's just trying to seal out the game on a two-turn lethal, but that's just not going to happen. The swipe takes care of the Warlock, takes care of Eloise, and Zele is going to advance. He is our first GEICO Brawl #2 finalist. And I mean, all of his decks, out of all the players we've seen, I think he has the strongest weak deck, and that is very important in the Conquest format. So I think he's absolutely earned his spot in tomorrow's final. And
I agree.
if we take a quick look at the bracket, we can kind of see who he may expect to face off against. We still have one match for you guys today. While there was the first semifinal, we've still yet to see some from the remaining players. While we won't see anything from Strifecrow and Amaz today, we will see Caldi versus Hoj face off, and the match that's going to come up in a few minutes. We're going to go to a break before that, but also I want to mention to you guys, if you guys want to check out geico.onog.gg, you guys can enter for a PC giveaway. You can get your official TSM PC. And it doesn't take much. It's just a raffle. Check it out, enter, and check out maybe the other promotions. You guys can also find like the schedule and all the other cool events that are being put on by the One Nation of Gamers on the website as well. So check that out in the break. We won't be long, and stick with us.